Welcome back. You're watching Viewpoint with me, Griha. The Haryana government last evening raised shanties of immigrants living in the Tauru area, which is 20 kilometers away from the violence-hit Nuh. This was apparently done as action against encroaching on government land. Although the Chief Minister of the state, Mr. Manohar Khattar, did indicate 2 days back that the bulldozer action will be taken in Haryana on the same lines of Yogi Adityanath's Uttar Pradesh. Thereby, this move is being seen as an action against the alleged rioters, as both the district administration and the Chief Minister had earlier alleged that the immigrants were the ones who were involved in the clashes. Meanwhile, there was also an attempt to vandalize 2 mosques in the Tauru area late evening on Wednesday, and owing to the communal tensions, Friday prayers were not offered in both Nuh and Gurugram. The mosques this week were empty, with the religious leaders appealing to the people to pray from their houses. The new superintendent of police, Varun Singla, who was on a pre-approved leave when the clashes broke out, has also been transferred. Now remember, this indeed has been an unprecedented turn of events, with as many as 176 arrests that have been made and over 90 detentions in the state that have been taken so far. 7 first information reports for incendiary social media posts have been filed, and about 2,300 videos are being examined for posting inflammatory content on the day of the clashes. But what came in first were the bulldozers. And somehow, we can't look at them in exclusivity. So what is it to become of it? Should we see this as another attempt to legitimize the bulldozer and pass it off as a model of justice by another one of the BJP-ruled states?
देखिए, ऐसा है कि वो जो अवैध संपत्तियां हैं जो कि किसी एचएसबीपी की लैंड पर कब्जा था, उसके ऊपर ही कार्रवाई की गई थी। निश्चित तौर पर जो है सरकार इसके लिए सख्त कार्रवाई कर रही है।
नहीं, जहाँ पर आवश्यकता होगी हम बुलडोजर भी चलाएंगे, और हमने हरियाणा में एक्ट पास किया हुआ है कि अगर दंगों के दौरान कोई नुकसान हो जाए तो उसकी भरपाई उसी से करवाई जाती है।
अगर एक दिन का मोहलत देता तो हम फिर भी हमारा घर का जो सामान था वो भी निकल पाता।
पहले तो नहीं बोला था, 1-2 दिन तो पहले बोल देता तो वो बात अलग था। बिल्कुल आया और
Let me take this across to my guests who join us this evening. Meeta Chakraborty of the Congress Party is with us. Alok Watts, who is a political analyst, is with us. We're waiting for a member of the VHP to join us as well. And also with us is Shashikant, who is a former DGP of Punjab. Mr. Vast, let me actually begin with you, since you do lean towards the Bharatiya Janata Party. It's the BJP government in the state. The fact that it has been said that the bulldozer action is going to be taken on the alleged rioters, can we safely say that it has been established by now who the rioters are?
Let me tell you one thing. That there was initially a slackness by the local police there. Thereafter, there has been stringent measures taken to control the situation. More than 94 FIRs have been lodged. 116 people have been arrested and 96 are being integrated. Paramilitary forces have taken over this area, and not a single incident has happened ever since the Chief Minister has taken things into his stride. And everything is returning to normalcy. According to me, this was a sabotage done by nefarious forces who want to destabilize the country, who want riots to take place between the Hindu and Muslim. And all this exercise is being done by the internal forces as well as the forces from abroad, various countries, which are not able to digest the rapid growth of India. At present, 5th largest economy in the world, And as predicted by IMF in its recent report, by 2027, certainly under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we will be the third largest economy in the world.
No, what I'm asking you, Alok Vats, is why the bulldozer action, why the hastening of grazing houses with the bulldozer? Why not wait for the inquiry to actually complete and, the entire aspect to come to light first?
I could not hear your name. Could you please repeat?
I'm Griha, sir. I'm Griha, and I'm wanting to understand why the bulldozers have been pressed into service first.
Bulldozers have been put in operation against those where the prima facie it has been proved that they were involved in this whole episode of destabilization.
And that's what I'm asking you, sir. Have they been established? Has that entire aspect been established? Because the inquiry is still underway.
No, certainly we are not above the law.
No, nobody is saying that.
Once we go bulldozing somebody, we have ample proof to prove in the court that he was the culprit.
Okay. So essentially, if I have got this correctly, Mr. Watts, you are saying that this entire bulldozer action was done on the houses of immigrants or people who were allegedly involved in the rioting. It was nothing to do with government encroached land. Have I heard that right, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
There could have been instances once the inquiry goes. Once you go fishing for fish, you always get crabs also, sometimes snakes also.
No, we're not talking about fish and crabs here. We're talking about living, breathing individuals whose houses have been in fact grazed to the ground because bulldozers have been pressed into service. Mr. Shashikant, I would want to bring you in here.
Madam,
how legitimate, you have only been speaking, sir. Let me actually bring in other speakers. Mr. Shashikant, how legitimate is this action, this bulldozer action, which has been very, very importantly being passed as a model of justice in the country, especially in the BJP ruled states? How important and how legitimate and how reasonable was their interference here in this current case in a state which has already been so, raked with communal violence for the past 3-4 days?
Look, ma'am, I'm going to talk as a former police officer. I don't belong to any political party, BJP or this thing or that. As a police officer, I think that I've always believed in deterrence and deterrence of the strictest possible order. But here the question is slightly different. It's been claimed that overnight, when the violence is there, police is not able to go to various areas, how everybody has been identified. I'm sure that the police doesn't have a magic wand to identify these persons, number one. And secondly, if these persons were there, right now they are saying it's immigrants. Maybe certain non-immigrants had also indulged in this kind of act. I think the proper thing should have been to go in for a proper investigation. And then as per the law, whatever the law demands, this should have been done. This is an action which I think is certainly going to raise certain eyebrows, not only here in the country, but even internationally. I personally think that the government should have shown some restraint, identify the persons properly, and then whatever action comes up legally should have been taken. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Siraj Nair of the VHP is also now with us. Mr. Nair, let me bring you in here. Alok Watts, who is also part of this panel, was just mentioning that this entire bulldozer action has got nothing to do with grazing illegal settlements that have taken up, that have come about in an area which is just 20 kilometers away from the violence-affected Nu. First of all, do you agree with that statement? Is that what it is? It is an attempt to just rein in on the people allegedly identified as culprits of the riots?
So this is like interfering with the law enforcing agencies. The law enforcing agencies in Haryana, they are quite capable. Maybe there might be a slight intelligence failure in the recent riots which took place. But then now they have pulled up their socks, so they know it very well where they are, what action they are taking in. So we have to allow the police forces to take action according to their investigations. We should not comment. This is a little irresponsible comment. And we are absolute with the Haryana government for the action they are taking.
No, but the Haryana government, when you talk about the government, let's talk about the Chief Minister and also the State Home Minister. They have come on record and they have said that very soon, and this is just a statement made 2 days back, one by Mr. Vij has been made early this morning, where they have mentioned that the bulldozers would be very soon pressed into action. Why this need for passing the bulldozer as a form of justice is my question, sir.
Well, what is wrong in it? See, in UP it has been a very successful, to crush the criminal elements, in UP it has been a successful formula, and in MP also we saw. So this is a very much needed thing, and the government has all the right to demolish all the illegal settlements, illegal construction, because these are all
illegal. Are you saying that this was a grazing of illegal structures, or are you saying this was raining in on the rioters? There are two different things, sir. And when it is about grazing illegal structures, why was no intimation given in to the people who were staying there? That is also an important follow-up question, sir.
If they are raising the structure of the rioters, that also is right. We are absolutely with the government. It is absolutely justified. It is much required, because we have to ensure the government has to teach a lesson to this kind of rioters, where how can these people throw stones, kill innocent people, attack women, children and the elderly people. So there has to be a lesson which has to be taught to this criminals.
Shiraz Nair,
this is absolutely justified.
So basically, Shiraz Nair, you have basically identified who these rioters are. They only come from one community, and you're essentially saying the model of justice in this democracy like India has to be eye for an eye. And you are saying it's absolutely correct that the bulldozers should in fact graze the structures of the people associated, allegedly. I'm still using the word, because the inquiry is still underway.
See, America is considered as one of the civilized society. Madam, America is considered, USA is considered as one of the civilized society. What they did to Osama bin Laden? They went to Abbottabad, killed him and dumped in the sea.
Okay.
There has to, in certain cases, this kind of justice is required. These people, these rioters, these jihadi elements have
So basically,
to be
Mr. Shiraz Nair, there will be bulldozers that will graze the houses of the VHP or Bajrang Dal members who had swords in their hands, or the people who were responsible for killing the Maulana in that mosque near Gurgaon in Sona. Is that also going to be happening?
Madam, this was a one-sided attack.
No. Answer this question. Will you negate the fact that the Maulana died or not? Will you negate the fact that the Maulana also was killed or not?
Madam, every action has a reaction. Somebody is going to react, right? 5 to 6 people, 2 innocent policemen, home guards were killed.
All right.
And another 3 youths were killed.
Meeta Chakraborty, by that logic, sir, what we are getting to know from Nu is also a retaliation of the 2,300 videos which the police is still looking at, which had inflammatory comments that were put on social media, and nothing was done about it by the BJP government in the state and the centre. Meeta Chakraborty, bulldozer as a model of justice in a country democratic as India. How do you respond?
Good evening to all your viewers. And firstly, India is not a banana republic. There's a court of law. There's an investigation process. And I'm amazed at the kind of logic that is being put forward here that, it's all right to have bulldozers within a couple of days of a incident happening. And a complete disconnect. Some people are saying that they were illegal settlements that were being mowed down. Even in that case, no prior intimation was given, no process being followed. And some people are saying that we kind of thought that these are rioters and these immigrants are responsible for the violence, and hence this bulldozer politics is being applied for. Now, this is not a banana republic. We claim that India is the largest democracy of the world. We take pride in India. What kind of example are we setting? What kind of news are we creating in the international forum? And it's amazing that people are actually justifying it. By all means, doesn't matter which community the person comes from. He can be a Hindu, he can be a Muslim, he can be a Christian, he can be an atheist. If someone is responsible for an act of violence, please do arrest him, put him behind the bar, hang him if you want to. But let there be proper investigation, let there be rule of law, there is a court. The court decides on the quantum of punishment depending on what has happened. the government is not the court. The government is not the judiciary. The government, the police forces are only responsible for carrying out the investigation, arresting the people and producing those people in front of the court. Let the court state what the quantum of punishment will be. What kind of democracy are we building here? And I'm amazed that there's a section of people who actually try to justify this kind of bulldozer politics. This has to end, period. I mean, once again, first of all, it shows a complete failure of the law and order situation in Haryana, a complete failure of their intelligence system. There are reports which suggest that the inspector had information that there would be attacks on a procession about a week before, and no actions were taken. This violence, this mindless violence could have been avoided. I do not know how the cybercrime department is operating in the state of Haryana. They did not act on social media posts that had gone viral. So, first of all, no proactive steps taken. And once the riot has taken place, you are just kind of going and you cannot just justify and villainize a whole community. You have to identify people who are responsible from both sides of the divide.
Now, Alok Watts, coming back to you, the point that you were earlier making, Alok Watts, the point that you were earlier making, all right, Meeta, Mr. Watts, the point that you were earlier making has been negated by a member of the VHP, has been your, alliance partner. I want to understand that this clarity, or in fact, how did it come into the discourse that these are illegal settlers whose houses we are grazing? If it's illegal, there was no intimation that was given. And on the other hand, you, in fact, have given this statement, which is very akin to what Mr. Anil Vij or Mr. Khattar has also said, that there might be bulldozer action for, against the rioters. What happens to the people who are in their family? What happens to their houses? How is that a justified model of justice when it is not even, seen that legal scrutiny at all? And this is not the way how law works in the country.
Let me tell you one thing. There have been several instances of bulldozer in UP and also in Madhya Pradesh. Has a single restriction been passed against the government? They know what they are doing. They know they are answerable. But people in this country now only understand the language of strictness.
Okay.
Understand the language of bulldozing.
So, you are going by your logic, Mr. Watts. There should not be any courts, there should not be any legality, there should not be any police.
No, this is not done. You are interrupting me in between. I search for people who are indulging in nefarious anti-social activities. It is not for the common man.
Okay. Mr. Shashikant.
Only those who are under the proven shadow of the law.
And
that's what my question is, sir.
As well. So even
Mr. Watts, it's not proven.
Even a person,
the inquiry is still underway.
Something wrong. As a mother, am I supposed to also?
Mr. Shashikant, let me ask a question of Mr. Shashikant. Mr. Shashikant has been a law enforcer himself. Mr. Shashikant, where do you see this going? This argument that's being made on both sides?
Look, there are two aspects involved. One is strictly a legal thing, as per the law. We all believe in rule of law. Whatever action is to be taken anywhere in the country, it has to be strictly as per the Constitution, as per the IPC and other provisions.
Absolutely, and we understand that, sir. Mr. Shashikant, let me actually come in here, because the argument that has been made against it is that, look at what is happening in Madhya Pradesh, look at what has happened in UP, nothing was done about it, or there was no scrutiny that happened even after the bulldozer quote-unquote justice model was in fact meted out there to the mafia or otherwise. So why not here in Haryana?
Look,
what would you say to that logic, sir?
If they are talking about the UP and all other places, somehow or the other, fortunately or unfortunately, we have a system here. The person has to, either the court can take suo motu notice of a particular thing, and in case the court doesn't take a suo motu notice of a particular thing, then the court of law has to be approached. Here in this case, I think both the aspects are involved. Number one, human rights. There must have been kids also who have been uprooted. What about the human rights violation? And even if it was an encroached land, then the procedure says that there should be some notice has to be given to them. And after notice, they have to take out they have to act as per the provisions. And I don't believe, I have been in police service for almost 4 decades. I don't think that any police can really identify such kind of hoodlums overnight.
Absolutely.
They don't have
and
a magic wand
we
or
do
something.
feel still, even though
time.
this bulldozer
So
model
I think
of justice has been propagated in various BJP ruled states, we just hope that entire idea of justice does not see a sea change, at least in a democracy like India. We leave it at that. I'll thank all my guests on that note. With that, it's a wrap from my side on Viewpoint. My colleague Toya is up next with Plain Speak.